the Auburn Blitz Podcast, your direct source for all Auburn all the time with Brett Pritchard, Faith Richardson, and Randy Lee.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Auburn Blitz Podcast here on a Thursday morning. We are so glad that you have joined us wherever and whenever it is that you join us each and every day here on the Auburn Blitz and making Auburn Blitz part of your daily Auburn athletic intake. Our podcast is brought to you by the Glenda Mitchell Law Firm each and every day, our umbrella partner over all Auburn Blitz programming. We appreciate Glenda very much and her entire staff. Go check them out online. I'll talk more about Glenda later on in the show, but we really, really appreciate our partnership with the Glenda Mitchell Law Firm. Randy, good to see you this morning. We'll dive into a lot of stuff while you're here with me. Faith will jump in a little bit later on, but there's always covering Auburn a lot to talk about. That's somebody stopped me yesterday and said, well, there's one thing for sure, you don't ever lack for content, and that is the truth. And so for this, for me and you and everybody else, and especially me coming up with this stuff every morning, it's not hard. It's just like, what are you going to select? What are you going to talk about? So obviously the assistant coaches, not just the coordinators, we heard from them last week. The assistant coaches shared some time with us this past week, and offensive and defensive staff members. So we're going to talk a little bit about Cody Burns and Tyler Hudanick, the offensive line coach, and his major task ahead for him this year, and kind of his background and some of the quotes he had to say. So the first time they really had a chance to meet with us. But for your sake, and while I've got you here with the basketball side, basketball, is it going to make the tournament? This will be the first time in a while if Auburn doesn't make the tournament. We've gotten used to that around these parts. If Auburn doesn't make the tournament, what does that mean for this program, and what does it mean for a lot of things moving forward? We'll dive into that, of course. And Bruce Pearl didn't hold back on his comments regarding Nate Oates and what he did with Charles Bediako, whether you like it or not, out there for any of you Bammers that tune us in every day. You can get over there and you can comment away like you always do. But anyway, we'll start there. Basketball, it's in a precarious situation right now. I've seen the latest, projections, and they've got Auburn either as an 8 or 9. And you're really at an 8 or 9, Randy, because that's the range where teams that are on the bubble make it. I mean, I know you can get an 11 or 12 or something like that, but really teams they always stick the teams that barely make it in right there in that 8-9 seed because, it's kind of an up and down year, and that's kind of what Auburn's having right now.
Well, there's too many teams that are smaller schools that actually creep into the
Right.
NCAA tournament based off of a conference championship win, and even from time to time a tourney championship win that gets them in there, Brett. And then you got somebody else from that smaller conference that maybe deserved it. So yeah, I mean, you're anywhere from that 8 to 11 range when you're sneaking in the back door, especially as an SEC school, because in order to even get in it as an SEC school, you're going to have a lot of top tier wins because your schedule is so difficult. And Auburn does. Auburn's got some great wins on their resume this year. And they've got some great games that they didn't necessarily win, but they proved that they were equal to some of the best teams in the country, i.e. Houston, earlier in the year. But I think the most important thing is, can Auburn get in the tournament? Because that would be, to me, meeting expectations for the year. Not exceeding, but just being right on where par of what I thought this team could pull off. And how do they do that? I mean, I think if Auburn gets to 10 wins, they're in, no doubt. But I don't think Auburn's going to get to 10 wins playing the way that they are right now. I think if Auburn gets to 9 wins, Brett, and wins a game in the SEC tournament, they still get in. And I think it'll be deservedly so based off of the schedule that they play. But I think your biggest question there is, how important is this for Auburn moving forward? To me, not much. I mean, I'd like Boris to get in. I'd like for this team to reach their ceiling, and I think playing their best basketball, they even could win a game or two in the NCAA tournament. This is not a championship caliber team. It's not built like one. Let's don't kid ourselves. I mean, I think too often we get caught up in blaming it on the coaches and blaming it on the administration and blaming it on NIL and transfer portal. And unfortunately, from time to time, you don't put the roster together that can compete at the level that we hoped Auburn would consistently throughout the year. And it's too many variables out there, Brett, that has to go perfect for Auburn to win basketball games this year, like 0 injuries, 0. I mean, we had no room for a major injury, and luckily we haven't had one of our
I don't know what
guys
this
go
team
out.
is going to do if they were to have an injury or two here coming down the stretch. I mean, I don't even know how you feel. Almost don't feel the team, because right now there's no options. I mean, you're really down to the bare minimum with playing 6 or 7 guys, and we all know. I mean, if you were to have a couple of guys go down for whatever reason, you can't just run 5 guys out there for 40 minutes.
True.
In this league. You'll just get your brains beat out. But that's what Auburn's teetering on. They're teeter-tottering right there on a guy or two having not even being out a long time, just being out for a game or two, and where you're down, because Auburn's been in depth problems for a long time, and Stephen Pearl has pretty much sent the message without saying it verbally that it doesn't look like Caden Magwood and Simon Walker and any of these guys really are even a legit option at all.
Well, you would have already seen them. The need's there. And so if there's reasons that you're not, and there was reasons we didn't see Ja'Kai last year. And he moved on. He's not having success where he moved on to either. So there's some kids you can't reach. There's others that you miss out on, and they go somewhere like Aiden Holloway. He didn't play well at Auburn. He's dang sure playing well at Alabama. He's shooting the cover off the ball over there, averaging almost 18 points per game. So I'm not saying
he's being the player everybody thought he was going to be coming out of high
well,
school.
he's in a system that works out for him too.
It does.
Let's don't kid ourselves. And not every system is built for Auburn or Alabama. We're a different playing team. But good for him. But Auburn has missed on some choices. But we didn't go out there and make a lot of no doubt choices outside of Keyshawn Hall, though, Brett. I mean, Keyshawn Murphy was a good piece for Mississippi State, but he wasn't their best player. Never was. Keyshawn Hall was the best player and one of the most sought after players in the portal. And thank the Lord we got him. If Auburn doesn't win that battle and get him and then keep him after Bruce moves on, I don't know where this team is. So my point is, in order to win in this conference consistently, you got to win 2 or 3 of those battles if you've got 10 leaving, like Auburn did off of that roster last year. And we didn't. We didn't spend the money to do that. So whose fault is that? I don't know. I'm sure that fault can go around to a lot of people. But the 3 that we're asking to play, Brett, weren't the most highly sought after players in the portal or high school players. Now, Caden Magwood was a good piece, but there was much better pieces out there too.
All right, there's a couple of things I want to talk about. Number one, when you look at something Stephen Pearl said about being too emotional in these games, I dug a little bit deeper, and Faith and I found out some more information yesterday. Keyshawn Hall went to the bench because emotionally he had taken himself out of the game, because he is a drive to the rim guy, and he was getting hit. And again, he's used to getting those calls and getting the free throw line. Well, that particular officiating crew, Pat Adams, I know everybody's favorite official in the world in that group, were letting them play. And he was getting to the rim, but he was getting knocked around and they weren't calling it. And he had finally reached a breaking point where he's like, mentally, and you can say what you want to. People can say, well, he's acting like a baby and he's got whatever. But from a mental standpoint, I guess Stephen said, well, he's out of it. You know, this is taking effect on him. It's affecting the way he's playing on the defensive side of the ball. It's affecting the way we got to just get him out because he's not in it mentally. And you can say whatever you want to say about that, but officiating crews can dictate that. We know some are a lot more nitpicky and some let you play more. But it boiled over to the fact that then it wasn't that Keyshawn Hall got a tech that Stephen put him on the bench. It was because he looked at him, I think, and said, well, he's not going to give us the best chance in this game, in this current state mentally. So he takes him out. And, I mean, that's from a pretty reliable source that we got yesterday. So that makes more sense. But, again, Stephen made a point to say, we got to quit being so emotional in these games and getting caught up in calls and things like that. And you know, it all makes sense now after he said that.
It does. And, you know, I'll preface this with, and I think you can vouch for me here, that I'm a massive Stephen Pearl supporter. I just don't want to see Auburn fans go out there.
I think everybody should support the coach, whoever the coach is.
But there are some that support, but then the next thing they say is, I'm going to support, but I'm going to knock him. I'm going to constantly berate him on the back end because he's not his dad, and I don't think he's going to be his dad, and he didn't deserve to get this job because he hadn't had head coaching experience. There's a number of things that, you know, we were on a text thread yesterday with some number one spinners. Some of our Bama brethren that they can spin things in the direction that they want it to go. Well, Auburn fans are really good at that too, by the way. And right now, unfortunately, it's directed solely towards a coach and the questioning of whether he's going to be able to get the job done. But I will say this, with this team, Brett, there's not enough options over there to sit him. I mean, he was 3 for 13 in the game. What you going to roll in there? You gonna roll? I mean, like
I totally agree with that point.
I mean, I've not said hardly any negative, but my only response to that is, if you were 10 or 11 deep, like Auburn has had the good fortune of being in the last few years, and CBM shows his rear end out there on the court, and you go, I am not dealing with that. So KD's playing the next 11 minutes while you sit over here and think about your actions. Well, you had an option there. What are you going to roll in there when the only guy – and here's another thing, when you're lacking as much depth as we are, and you're asking guys to do things that aren't necessarily the easiest things for them to do, you put so much pressure. I mean, Keyshawn Hall starts every game that he can't go 3 for 13. And he can't –
and you're out of it if he does.
Auburn can't win the basketball game unless he gets to the free throw line 14 times. I mean, and he personally knows this. Well, we're going up against the best coaches in the country. And the best coaches in the country can tell, how do you defend Auburn offensively right now? Here's how I do it. You're going to have to prove to me you can make 12 to 14 threes. And Keyshawn Hall ain't getting to the free throw line 16 times against me. I am packing it in there. I'm making sure there's 2 people that are spying him no matter where he is on the court. And it's going to be a big. It's going to be a big, and I'm hopeful that the calls don't go against me. Keyshawn's so good that that's probably been the decision all year on how you play Auburn. He still gets to the free throw line, but he has to get the calls, and he didn't get them the other night. Long story short, you're getting into the second part of the season, and there's a ton of film on this team, and this team's got a lot of holes, and they've overcome those holes up to this point. And maybe they can turn it. The good thing is the ceiling for several of these players is high enough. If they play out of their mind, we can win basketball games against anybody. But if they don't, if they go 3 for 13 and they get frustrated in the game and they get pulled, we don't have any answers for when our best players don't play their best ball.
All right, the last thing I want to ask you, the energy level in that building, not from the fans, but from the players. And it was flat. I mean, you just got beat by Alabama, and you have a quick turnaround. You come back, you got a top 20 team coming in your place on a Tuesday night, and the environment wasn't the best. But why is your hair not on fire to come out there and really – and I heard some other analysts say the same exact thing that I'm saying right now, that there was a lack of energy going into that game. You can say, well, they're tired and all this, but here's the deal. Like, we play into that a little bit more too than I think. Now, from a longevity part of the game, if you're at the last 3 or 4 minutes of a game, yeah, I could say you're tired. Hey, these are kids, man. And the energy level, when I say energy, not stamina, I'm talking about hyped up, look like you're ready to go, and they just look flat coming out of the gate. So I just, again, question that part of why are you not just exploding to come out there and say, we got another great opportunity here. We got to flush that one. We got to get out here and see what we can do in front of our own crowd in a place that's historically hard to win for opposing teams. Let's go out here and get a quad 1 win in our building.
Well, the biggest problem with college basketball and college sports in general, and you've hit on this probably more than anyone that's talking head out there, is there is no true feel. There's no true passion for a player. I mean, these kids have been on campus for what, 6 months? Like, really? I mean, you expect them to bleed orange and blue? You expect them to know what the culture is of Auburn basketball the previous 10 years with students sleeping in tents to try to get in the games and stuff? And I'm more talking toward the players, Brett, than the fan base.
No, I know.
Because I think
right.
I think it's much easier for the fan base to get up because you hope that you do have a culture built. But man, how do you do this constantly flipping players? I mean, Auburn was in a great position last year because you had a core group of players led by Dylan Cardwell from a leadership standpoint that kept that thing intact. And then you had great pieces that had been there at least 2 years. You know, like, it may sound like 2 years is no time compared to mine and your generation, but 2 years is a lifetime to be somewhere for 24 months. You're somewhere at the same school and around the same coaches and development coaches that are part of your team. This team doesn't. How do you build culture like that, Brett? It'd be a miracle.
The thing that most coaches are struggling with.
It's a miracle that you do. So I mean, my answer to you on that is like, do I really think that Elijah Freeman? I'm not just pulling him out of the hat. I'm just saying that all of a sudden he knows exactly what's expected of an Auburn player. I mean, come on, man. Like, there is no. You're building culture in a quick turn period, and you're expecting a lot out of young guys that've got a lot of other things going on to buy into a process. Well, hell, there is no process. There's no process when you're somewhere for 6 months, and it's terrible for the kids. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a nightmare what is being allowed to happen in this country. I mean, they're not going to get an education. There's no way for them to get an education. Brett, with the current structure that we have in place, and we've gotten away from that completely. And so I wish I wasn't on here, sounding like I didn't think there were answers, but I don't think anybody is at least giving some answers that's going to change this. I don't. And I lean to Stephen Pearl and this staff. There's nobody going to come on here or I'm going to talk to on at the water cooler or anything that's going to tell me that Stephen Pearl and Ira Bowman and Burgo and all these guys don't know how to coach up basketball.
No, I don't think anybody's saying that.
They know what good culture and what basketball is expected out of Auburn, but it's an almost impossible setup for you to do it year in and year out with an entire new roster like we're doing right now.
Yep, it's a different landscape for sure.
Sure is. Well, I'll step aside. I'll tune into y'all. I'm interested to hear y'all's comments on Bruce's comments yesterday. I mean, they were direct, but they feel like there's more coaches that are stepping to the mic and disgusted with the current setup. And, I know that I don't know that y'all talked about Coach Spurrier's comments directed towards Dabo Swinney a couple of days ago when he said, look, man, Dabo, you're acting like there are going to be issues if you go out and you recruit a kid the way that went down between Ole Miss and Clemson. And Coach Spurrier said, hell, there are no rules. There's no rules. What are you talking about rules? There's no rules in the way that this is working right now. Doesn't mean he likes it. He hates it. But it's the current course of college athletics, and it's honestly disgusting that it's been allowed to get to this, but it is what it is. But I'll tune into y'all.
Hey, buddy. All right.
How are you?
Welcome in, Faith. How are you this morning?
Good morning. Good to see you. Doing well.
Absolutely. A lot of comments coming in that we do want to dive into because we're definitely not, we're just hadn't had time to get to them. But I said that exact same thing, Justin, just a day or two ago. It's this basketball season is mirror imaging this football season in a lot of different ways. And it's weird, but we'll talk about all that. But as you jump on, Faith, we go back and we want to talk about our partners as we roll through our program because we could not do our podcast without them.
Scentsy Green for air that is warm and clean. Call on Scentsy Green. They are the carrier experts in the state of Alabama. Proud supporter of Auburn athletics and a proud supporter of the Auburn Blitz. It is so crazy just how the South goes back and forth between warm weather and cold weather. And you want a reliable unit, and the carrier unit is going to be the unit for you. So call on Sense Green so they can save you hundreds of dollars.
Absolutely. Don't know. You have to literally walk outside to figure out what kind of clothes to wear.
Yeah.
Scout Program Management, a full construction management firm. They are located in Birmingham, Alabama. You hear me say that every single day. They work on projects all over the place. But if you look around this state, they have had their hand in most all of these massive school builds and everything else that's going on, whether you're with a municipality or whatever. Check them out, scoutpm.com online. You'll see all of their work. And, man, I can tell you, they are the best in the business. And there's a reason you hire them because they are the best in the business. So check out Scout Program Management.
Bunkers in downtown Auburn, it is going to be the place to be. No matter what day of the week it is, Bunkers is always hopping. So you want to make sure you go over there if you want to watch sports, eat some good food, listen to some live music, and have a ton of fun. I mean, Bunkers, again, they've got Line Leap now. So all of the college students, if you want to go ahead and get cover, you can do it on Line Leap, and that'll get you in the door quicker, and you don't have to pay up front. So go to Bunkers in downtown Auburn.
They got all kind of stuff. If you go to their Facebook page and Instagram, they got all kind of stuff, after the parade coming up. They just got all kind of, I can't even get to all of it. I'm looking at it right now, but just go check them out. And like you said, you can get that, you can get ahead and go ahead and pay that advance cover and get in and skip the line. The Cart Source, Alabama's premier golf cart superstore. Easy Go, Cushman, Yamaha, Club Car, whatever it is that you're looking for, they have it. Man, we're excited about being over there next week already. It's next week. Next Wednesday we'll be at the Cart Source. Is that right, Faith? Is it already going to be the 18th?
Next Wednesday.
Good grief, man. Time just flies by. But anyway, we'll be there. You need to come out and check out the Cart Source right there in Dadeville, Alabama, off of Highway 280. Tell Harrison that we sent you over there, and he'll take care of you. All right, just so much to go back through over here. We'll hit some of these comments as we go back. Brand new coach, second toughest schedule in the country, 10 new players. That's not a good combination a lot of times. So, but it's reality, and it's what this basketball program is being faced with right now, Faith. I think that's all of that summed up is really who this basketball team is right now.
Yeah, it's just the identity is lost. And when you want to be at this part of the season, this is when you'd rather the team gel than, too early in the season and then they fall apart and all that kind of stuff. And so just a lot that you've got to have some sort of identity. That's just the only word that's coming to mind for me right now.
And Tubbs said, don't deserve even talk of attorney. Lack of depth would never be able to make a run. We've said that. The lack of depth, like if you make the tournament, what are your realistic expectations? Do you want to make the tournament? Hogbone said, went back and watched the game. Brett was right. They look lazy on defense at times. And I'm not talking about the end of the game. I'm talking about early in the game. This is not when you're like, oh, their tongue's dragging the ground and they're worn out. So, did we get a handful of low-level favorite team players good enough there with some flash, but not at this level, or are they just not getting the emotion Bruce used to pump into this type of talent?
I think it's because you've got a handful of team stars at a lower level, and when you bring them together, it's hard for everybody to find their own
Right.
positioning and footing because they're used to being the guy that did everything for them on their team. And when you bring all of those guys together, it's hard to have that connectivity and be able to make plays for each other because you're so used to doing it all yourself.
Yeah, I want to go back and do a little bit of a history lesson. Roger said, how many athletes actually graduate now? I mean, good point. I mean, it's almost a joke that we don't even discuss that being part of college athletics now. And again, the whole I'll save this for later. I'll stop myself. I'll save it for later in the program. I will come back to this so you'll know where I'm going. Little history lesson on Auburn basketball. And again, the reason you want to continue to be a program that is considered one of the top programs in the country is because Auburn's missed the tournament one time since basically 2019. And that was the 2021 season, the 2020-2021 season, the 2019-2020 season. Auburn, the COVID hit. I mean, what was I thinking? The COVID hit and wiped that out. And Auburn was really hitting its peak, by the way, going into that season. So you definitely, I mean, they were like everybody's favorite to win the SEC tournaments, coming off the Final Four, all this kind of stuff. I mean, you were excited about what was coming back, and we never will know what happened there. But Auburn really has only missed it that one time, and we've talked it. So 2022, 23, 24, 25. So all the way back to 2019. You don't want this to be one of those years where you go, we didn't make the tournament. Now, I know every year is different, and certain things dictate how your season goes. And Auburn has had a coaching change, and they don't have a deep bench and all this kind of stuff. But, you know, you look at it, it's been a great run up until then. The time before, I guess I missed it. They've been there since 2018. My bad. So 2003 was the time we went to the tournament before 2018. So it's been a long time. Outside of the COVID year, Auburn's been a consistent tournament team. They've been to a couple Final Fours. So everybody's like, well, it's not that big. It's a big deal from a perception mindset if this team doesn't make the tournament. Not that anybody's expecting this team to go deep. It's just one of those deals where you're going, hey, we're not having our best year, but we're still a tournament team.
That, and because it is Stephen following his father's legacy and in his footsteps. And I mean, you would think that, you know, if Bruce was doing it and everything he instilled into Stephen. So I think that puts a lot of pressure and emphasis on that too.
That just pours gas on the fire. You're exactly right. That makes it even more, puts a magnifying glass on it even more. So Auburn's made it to 14 NCAA tournaments. And look how many Bruce took Auburn to: 18, 19, 22, 23, 24, and 25. So it's, look, you can say whatever you want. You can have a down year, but from a perception standpoint, that's where I'm going with it. So there's your history lesson for the day, everybody. All right, let's shift over and talk some football. Could our wide receivers, yes, Justin, Samir Dowdy, I got to stop what I'm saying. Yeah, he killed Tennessee in that last game, and Auburn had so much momentum going into the tournament. And it's a shame that you don't get to see what that team could do following a Final Four season the year before. Could our wide receivers be more productive this year? I mean, all Auburn people talked about was the Freeze Four. Well, there's one remaining receiver, Faith, of the Freeze Four, and that is Bryce Cain. And that's probably not the one everybody would have said would have been the last man standing with this group. If you'd have looked ahead into the future, you'd have gone, well, Bryce Cain's probably going to be the guy that struggles to get on the field, so he might get in the portal. But Malcolm Simmons and Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson are going to be mainstays. They're going to stay until they go pro. No, didn't happen.
Yeah, it definitely gets that kind of recognition in the opposite way that everybody thought about. So, what's his role going to be this year, Brett? What do you see Bryce Cain giving to this wide receiver room?
He caught 3 passes last year for 8 yards. So hopefully more than that.
Yeah.
The production there. But he just, again, I applaud Bryce Cain for going, I love Auburn. I want to be here. I want to stick this thing out. I've got something to show. And look, I'm here for it. I appreciate that. I appreciate, his want to be there and be the guy that emerges out of that group when you look back on this one day as, a guy that stayed the course and was productive, even though the situation wasn't the best. But I look at the top of these receiving core. There's a couple of reasons I'm more excited now about this receiver group than I was about last year's receiver group now in this moment in February of 26. Obviously, going into the season, the wide receiver core was our strongest. That's all we talked about, Faith. Remember, Cam Coleman, Eric Singleton, going out and getting Eric Singleton out of the portal and best receiver and add him into this mix. How are they going to spread the ball around? Who's going to get – and the production was fine, but it wasn't to the level that we all thought it was going to be, just overly dynamic.
And that's because Auburn didn't have a quarterback that was able to make that happen. And you tried Jackson Arnold, you tried Ashton Daniels. Something was not clicking between, obviously the offensive line as well, but the quarterback to receiver connection was not there on any levels. And it was hard to see that wide receiver room gets so underutilized with all the talent that was there. And then you bring in Byron Brown this year with, a resume full of just so much talent that he brings in performance. And then that wide receiver room that you wish you had still obviously exits.
Well, there's a couple of reasons I think this wide receiver room is going to be better this year. And everybody's going, well, you lost Cam Coleman, you lost Malcolm Simmons, you lost Eric Singleton, you lost. Here's why. Just what you just said. And you didn't even know you answered the question. But what you just said about the quarterback situation, when you look at Jackson Arnold and Ashton Daniels, they combine for a little over 2,100 yards. You look over at South Florida and Byron Brown, 3,158 yards, 28 touchdowns to 7 picks, not counting his 1,000 yards he got on the ground. But here's the kicker. Here's why it's going to be better. Because you bring that quarterback and that receiver core he threw to. So the continuity and the familiarity of that group playing together is going to be the X factor that makes that wide receiver room, maybe from a name standpoint, not as good as last year's, but from a production standpoint, in the end, it's going to be what wins out, because Keyshawn Singleton had 877 yards receiving last year and 8 touchdowns. Coger had 597 yards and 8 touchdowns. Nimrod, 466 with 3 TDs. And Neptune with 335 with 1 TD. If you want to do the comparison, Cam Coleman, 725, 5 TDs. Eric Singleton, 534, 3 TDs. Malcolm Simmons, 457, which, by the way, a majority of his yards came in the last 3 games. So you're talking about underutilized and 2 touchdowns. And Perry Thompson had 154 yards and no touchdowns. So look at the comparison right there.
You can't – part of having these guys that have played together come in together, you can't pay for the continuity and the relationship that they've already grown and strengthened together. And that's something that a lot of schools don't get, because obviously with the coaching turnover and these guys following Alex Golesh and the staff that he's bringing from South Florida, that is just something you can't put a price on. Them already playing together for a couple of years, them knowing their little quirks and kind of what it is that they like to do, how each guy runs their routes. And, it's different when you have to learn it in 1 year. And obviously, that's still going to be the case for some guys, but that is a huge asset of bringing in these guys that have played together, know each other's styles, and have had the production together.
Faith, it's a rebuilt wide receiver room, but is it really a rebuilt wide receiver room? It's a transplanted wide receiver room.
Okay.
It's taking that group from Tampa, Florida, and moving them to Auburn, Alabama, all together. And then you add in the guys that stayed, Eric Smith, Sam Turner, Bryce Kane, that didn't really play a lot, that are really grouped into this. I mean, this is just a transplanted room. So, I mean, I don't like the term rebuild there.
I think, yeah, transplanted's a good word to use in that situation for sure. But yeah, I just see this being something you can't, again, I don't think you can put a price on how this is going to add so much to this offense, and just be something that Auburn hasn't seen the last couple of years, truthfully, in a quarterback production standpoint.
And obviously we all know that's always the X factor. If you're on the line of, can you be a good team or are you going to be a bad team? Usually you look at the quarterback and say, is that position going to be a dynamic player that can get us over the hump? And
Right.
obviously Byron Brown's one of the top quarterbacks in the country. You can say what you want. You can say he played at South Florida. You can say all that junk, but numbers don't lie. I think you take a kid like Byron Brown and put him wherever, he's just got the skill set to be able to be successful. And especially when you take him and put him with his coaches, they're just going to be putting a different uniform on this year. I know that's crazy to say, but instead of putting on green, he's going to be putting on blue. And Alex Golesh and this whole staff, and, Tyler Hudanick, who we're about to talk about with this offensive line. Again, we get a chance to talk to the assistant coaches on the offensive and defensive side, not the offensive and defensive coordinator. We saw them last week, but it's good to hear from Cody Burns. It's good to hear from Tyler Hudanick and the guys on the defensive side. And we're going to scatter these out over the next few days and some of the things that all these assistants talked about. But, I mean, why would we not start with Tyler Hudanick? I mean, he has probably the toughest and most watched job of any assistant coach on this staff, and that is talking about literally rebuilding. Okay, if you want to say a rebuilt, this is a perfect position to say this one's going to be a rebuilt position.
17 new players and 3 returners in that room. And that is exactly why it's going to be called a rebuilt room, because this, and a lot of these guys, they're not coming from South Florida. There's a few,
Right.
but you're getting guys from all over the place. And, he's got the job of creating a new mindset for these guys, because, I mean, look at the production of the past. You've got all of Auburn sitting there watching what you're doing and not quite doubting you, but doubting what the production is going to be.
He's 29 years old. And again, that can make you a little nervous if you're looking at it from that standpoint, but you can also see what he's done in such a young career already and why Alex Golesh has the confidence in him to come and lead this offensive line at Auburn. And he understands that. I think he understands that, what he's faced with and how fast they've got to figure this out. And you and I've talked about it, and I believe he said it in one of his quotes that the spring is going to be an opportunity for everybody to find out where they are and who. And I've said this to you multiple times. That's why we're so excited about watching spring football, is because they've got to pack a lot in a very short amount of time, because everybody's new to each other. Whether you've been here at Auburn or not, all the new pieces coming in and you trying to build relationships is going to have to be done on the fly in spring. And I think at this position, you got to figure out who the five are that you're going to be leaning toward going into fall camp coming out of spring.
I really like what he said when he said, I think whether you're bringing guys in that are new or not, or guys that have been here, my job as their coach is to create a landscape where that's natural. You're going to do stuff together outside of this building. We're going to get to know each other. You've got to at this position. And I think that's true. And he also reiterated what Alex Golesh said last week in finding their identity and personnel and being able to do that before spring, because once spring comes around, I mean, you kind of want to go ahead and have something established. And that right there is at the top of his priority list.
Absolutely. And you inject Cole Best, Cole Skinner that are coming over that will help in that transition. I think, you do kind of in your mind feel like you got a couple of pieces that are going to be reliable, but you got to do an evaluation fast on all of these guys, those 17 that are in that room. You got to figure that out. And because everything revolves around, you were talking about the heart yesterday when we were at Russell Medical Center. It's the motor of your body. And if your heart's not healthy, nothing's healthy in your body, and it kind of controls. Well, that's can kind of be the comparison of an offensive line to your offense. You can have all these great pieces, but they're no good if nobody's blocking. And so the offensive line is kind of the heartbeat of your team. And that's why it's important to figure out who that's going to be as quickly as possible, so you can start building continuity and chemistry going into the fall.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you want to do that as quick as possible. And he sees that, and he sees how important that is to go ahead and get it done. And again, he said you can hopefully have your identity figured out before you even get to training camp, especially up front. I'm not saying every job is going to be penciled in at that point, but at least have a good understanding of what your strengths and weaknesses are in the O-line room from a skill set standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, I loved what he had to say. 29 years old, played against Auburn. He was on the offensive line at Central Florida. And I thought his explanation, that was one of the first questions someone asked him, is that, hey, what's it like? You've had some history. And I thought he had a very humble answer. He said, look, Derek Brown's big butt across the way. And he said, man, those guys were good. And he said, I thought he summed it up. He said it was two different teams with two different ways of looking at that game or going into that game. And it was, because I'll never forget, I tweeted something out after that game because I was so mad coming home. And it kind of went viral. And like Saturday Down South retweeted it and screenshot it and put it on. Like, it was because I was just so frustrated about how Auburn, like I had been all week talking about with all my buddies, Auburn's going to go over and take that game serious. Even though it's disappointing, they didn't get to the playoffs. It's a New Year's Six bowl. They want to finish the season, blah, blah, blah. And they were over there, and they were flatter than pancakes. They didn't want to be there. Central Florida's playing for a mythical national championship, and they've had the best season. So it was two motivation levels. There's no question about it. So, and it showed on the field that day. Central Florida wanted that game way more than Auburn did. And it wasn't because Central Florida was better than Auburn, but I thought he had a great summation. And then, of course, leading into where he is now, I think Brian Matthews asked him, said, could you ever imagine being in a position like this at such a young age? He said, man, it's just surreal. And he went on to talk about how great it is to be here at Auburn. So I'm looking forward to him. Like his energy level.
Yeah.
Like his personality, very personable. Seems like he's very warm and receptive to us in the media.
I'm excited to see his energy level and what he brings at practice. Seriously.
Yeah, because as you had alluded to multiple times on this podcast of us going to practice over the last several months, it was like one side of the field was a rave and the other side was preparing for a eulogy. And so we hope that we have both sides.
That's the production that we saw out on the field. So guess what? What happens at practice comes out on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No doubt. And that there was no truer witnesses to that than you and I can promise you. We saw it every single day.
Yep.
Also, every single day we talk about our partners, and we couldn't do the show without them. There's so many great ones, and we're so appreciative.
Oliver Ross, for all of your party, holiday needs, whatever it is, if you're getting your tailgate ready for football this upcoming fall, call on Oliver Ross to be the bartending service. They are professional licensed bartenders who have so much experience, so much professionalism. You aren't going to have to worry about a single thing when it comes to the bartending. You can just focus on the hostessing, whatever it might be. So call on Oliver Ross for all of your bartending needs.
Russell Medical Center. We enjoyed our time at Russell Medical Center yesterday. Enjoyed having Jackie Pearl on. Faith, she joined you yesterday. I know that was so much fun to hear you guys talk.
Yes, so much fun. She was so awesome. I mean, I had such a great time just talking to her, about basically what Outlive does with Russell Medical Center and, Russell Medical Center and the different foundations that they have there. I mean, love talking to her. Also, I went and did the Healthy Heart Month screening, had such a great experience. You guys don't even have to get into stuff with insurance and stuff over there. They literally do it all for the price. All 3 scans are $250. You'll be in and out of there with all 3 done in less than an hour. And I can't even believe that. The professionalism there, they really take privacy seriously. And it was just overall such a great experience. I already have some of my results back. And I literally had it done not even 24 hours ago. So head over to Russell Medical Center, one of the best hospitals in the state of Alabama.
Absolutely. Allen City Marine for boat rentals, sales, service, and storage. They've got your dream boat. I promise you. It's sitting over there. You just don't know it because you haven't gone and visited. So make sure you go and visit Allen City Marine. They will have a spring boat show coming up very soon. And you need to go ahead and beat the boat show prices by going over and seeing them now. Center consoles, pontoons, whatever it is that you're looking for. Bass boats, they've got them all. Powered by Honda, Suzuki, and Mercury, the best in the business. Check out Allen City Marine. Call them 256-215-3474. Right there off of Highway 280 as well. All these great businesses right there off of Highway 280 for your convenience. Okay. All right. Final thing here. Bruce did not hold back. And I know we probably have some Bammers watching. And I heard what Nate Oates said about Beard last night and the letter to Bediako and all this kind of stuff. This has really become a really what side of the fence you're on kind of deal, and painting the, I'm sorry, he's a victim here of this system. And the system is not very good. The system is terrible. There aren't very many good rules or any rules, period, on this thing. But for Nate Oates to not to think all of us didn't think all this was premeditated, that he was already enrolled in school, that they had already been talking about this, just didn't pop up. Hey, you want to come back and join the team? I mean, it took planning to do this. And look, yes, they thought they saw a loophole in the rule and they tried to exploit it. So, kudos to them. But just like always, they felt like they were going to get through all of this and it was just going to be approved. And he's going to rock right along, and it didn't happen that way. And so now the apple cart's been upturned. And so it's like, well, let's play the victim, and he's the victim. And first of all, Charles, if the reason the system is screwed up is the fact that you went from a pro league back to college, and you're not coming back to college. The only reason you were coming back to play in the college game is because you weren't good enough there and getting paid enough. but your value was greater in college. So you come back to get a bigger paycheck. I'm not just talking about Charles Bediako in Alabama. I'm talking about everybody. I'm talking about if Auburn had a player to come and do that. That, to me, sums up why the system screwed up. Oh, let me leave the pro league to come back to college to make more money. That's why the whole thing is screwed up. And yes, I'm glad it kind of got exposed, but let's not kid ourselves that he was coming back to go to school. Okay? I mean, let's just not kid ourselves. So then Bruce Pearl says what, Faith, after all that?
Nate said he'd play Bediako 100 times again. What that tells me is Nate doesn't really care about the SEC. He doesn't care about the NCAA, and it's fine. You're just going to have to care about your student athletes. That's fine. But you're a member of this conference, and you're a member of the NCAA. What about the rest of the teams? What about the rest of the players? Why should those 5 teams have to play against an ineligible player? I think it was selfish, and I think it was wrong.
You know, and I'm not saying I agree with that entire quote. You know, I think Nate Oates did what he felt like he could do to get a player on his team that would help him and give him an advantage. And it was obviously the right choice at the time. And I'm saying I'm kind of almost siding with what he's saying, Nate, about how screwed up the system is.
Yeah, but here's the thing, because in basketball, you do go and you sign a contract. Okay.
Yes.
That is where, if you are signing a piece of paper,
correct,
I think that right there is supposed to hold some weight and worth. And
supposed to.
Right. So if he signs a contract and says he's, going to the draft and then goes to the G League, you cannot come back to college. Okay. You have decided that you are done in college and taking your talent elsewhere.
And I also think, in the biggest caveat, and I'm not going to get into all this, but have you ever been to college before versus you were in college and left and then come back? That it's a different deal. Like, you can say, well, that's splitting hairs, that's apples to oranges, whatever. But it really, to me, in my mind, look, I don't want any pros. I'm just saying that, period. It's college basketball. So if you played in Europe in the pro league, I'm sorry. Look, it is what it is. If you came to if you're in the United States and you left college to go play in G League, E League, B League, D League, whatever it is, or the NBA, you can't come back. That's, to me, why this whole thing is a mess.
I think it also is notable the age differences and Copper. But I do think the age difference is what's notable there, because again, I mean, you've got Filip Jovic, who is 20 years old and considered a freshman, and then Bediako, who's 23 and is coming back and still has another year of eligibility after this year. Right. And so that would put him at 24. For Filip, I think what you would classify him as a sophomore or a junior or something like that. If age-wise, if he was
right
actually, in America, whatever, and not having played in the pros elsewhere, whatever, European pro, whatever, that's where I feel like you're going to start seeing these guys 26 years old, is if you've got the Euro pros coming over. And so I don't really know how.
Somebody just write a damn rule. It's real simple. And then enforce that. Obviously there was a judge that said, this ain't right. We need to stop it. They thought they found a loophole. There's not. This is how it's really written. So we're going to stop it right here. So why can't somebody, NCAA, whatever, write a rule and everybody follow the dang thing? That's the problem. It's gray area all over the place. And so
that's what we really talked about yesterday too. So
yep. Well, if anything, all that exposed this.
Yeah.
All of this has exposed, once again, another element of how much of a clown show and circus college athletics has become. But again, I go back to my point. Take Bediako's name in Alabama out and put in X player and X university. The fact that you go on to a league and sign a contract and play and then decide it ain't working out real well, I'm not getting what I want, but my skill set can let me go back to college and get paid more money at the college level, tells me all I need to know about how screwed up the system is. That
100%.
in itself. But let's not all act like that wasn't orchestrated and you just didn't wake up one morning and say, hey, we got a guy that we could use. And let me see if I could coerce him to come back. Oh, and let me see. Oh, he's already enrolled. Okay. Never mind. Okay. It didn't happen knee jerk. It was premeditated, and that's fine because they thought it out. They saw a loophole. They thought they could get it, but that is what it is. So I just wanted to bring up what Bruce said because I thought some of it was relevant, and I'm not sure to the extreme on some of it. I agree with most of it, but I don't necessarily think that Nate Oates doesn't care about other players. I don't know what's in Nate Oates' heart. I don't know what's in Bruce Pearl's heart. All you can go off of is what people do. I do think that Nate Oates tried to do what he could to better his team and get a player. And look, and Stephen Pearl even alluded to that, in his comments. He's like, if there's really nothing out there that says you can't do this, so why not? So it's just, at least we can all say thank you to Nate Oates for exposing this. Now let's see what happens.
Again, it's one of those things where you say, all right, I'm just glad it's not your team.
Yeah. Let them fight that out somewhere else. So, yep, a good lawyer can find a loophole in the Hoover Dam. That's it. That's what they do. And speaking of good lawyers, we're partnered with a great lawyer.
We are
in the Glenda Mitchell Law Firm, and we're glad that she's on our side and we're on her side. And especially for you out there and for all of us, if you're in a traffic accident, and we hope none of you are, but if you happen to be or somebody in your family is, they will come to you. Glenda will come to you and she'll give you her personal cell phone number and she will work and fight for you to make sure the insurance companies do what they're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. Because we all know how sketchy insurance companies can be when it comes time to when you need them. Oh, you pay your premiums and do all this stuff. And then it comes time for you to file a claim. And it's like, oh, well, we don't cover that, or you didn't have this, or you didn't. And it's like, no.
Actually,
let me just call Glenda Mitchell. Let me get her on speed dial for you, and she'll get it all fixed.
That's right. Call Glenda Mitchell.
And she's everywhere. Like when you and I are on the road every day, it's like, there's Glenda. She's in the car with us, but it's 400 billboards, so she's all over the place. And you definitely need to call on the Glenda Mitchell Law Firm if you need her. So she's there if you need her for sure. All right, Faith, we'll be on location today. I will be on location today at JR's Sports Bar and Grill.
Yes.
You got an early road trip that you need to get on. So you're going to stay put, and then we'll StreamYard in for the game, or not for the game, but for the show at JR. So I do hate that you're going to be missing that great food.
I know.
I wish you could smell it through the screen, or maybe it's good that you don't get to smell it through the screen. But you'll get back to JR's very soon, because we're there every month. So
all
this
the time.
is a lot of excitement we'll get. So I'll be there on location. So come by and see me if you'd like to, or come say hello, whatever. Brad said, so glad to see my favorite show, putting the cheese on the cracker and telling it the way it is. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you, Brad. Thank you so much for the support. All of you out there that watch and listen every day in podcast world, if that's where you get us, we appreciate you finding us out there as well. So, Faith, you got anything else?
Hope everyone has the best day. We'll see you guys at noon. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the quotes from football and then also basketball, of course.
Absolutely. We got more than we can handle in an hour. I promise you. So Hogbone, we will share the link of the show on social media out there, but you can catch all of our shows on YouTube and Facebook, and they're all archived there. So you can go back and see all of that. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, why haven't you?
Right.
What have we done to you that's made you not do that? So go out there and do it. So Faith, I'll let you send us out.
Hope everyone has the best day.
Be good to people. Be a shining light. We'll see you at noon for more Auburn Blitz.